What's up, everybody? It's Dr. J here, and I am so excited because me and my buddy Don Rasmussen from Quartermaster Tax Management, we get to hang out again, and we get to talk about R&D tax credits. Now, before you shut your computer down and turn away or swipe a different direction, stick with us, guys, because you are going to learn so much about how R&D tax credits work for you as a chiropractor, how you can actually put big cash back into your pockets and do it the appropriate and ethical way. And that's what Don is an expert at. So, Don, very excited to have you on today. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Dr. J. I appreciate it. Of course, I enjoy always having a conversation with Dr. J because, we were just talking about AI and how it's changing the world. And I just like having those conversations on how technology does that because that's ultimately what created the R&D initially was manufacturing technology. So we'll do a deep dive into here. Let me share my screen here real quickly. Okay, cool. So ultimately, get over here real quickly. And oops. Well, you'd think I would have done this 1,000 times, and I have. And I clicked the wrong button. There we go. All right, cool. Oh,
You good?
yeah, we'll try it one more time. There
I
we
see
go.
your screen.
You see my screen? Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. So what has changed, and like I said, innovation pays is what it states here, is that the One Big Beautiful Bill happened back in July. Of course, President Trump signed it July 4th, and it made some significant changes to the R&D credit. And a lot of our DCs, as a matter of fact, I was just talking to a DC over in Tennessee a little bit ago who did all of his studies up until 22. And what happened in 22, Dr. J, is that the rules changed. Something expired in the tax code under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that made it a little more challenging going after R&D. So we're going to talk about how the One Big Beautiful Bill has opened the window back up. It's incentivized the DCs who are watching today to take advantage of it if they've ever done so before or they've never done so before, why they may want to pay attention to today's our video today.
And just so
So
the
let me
audience knows, like you and I have spent a lot of time together. We've worked together for many years. I've seen what you've done for not just me, but for many colleagues. And so I just want the audience to understand this is not theoretical. This is real money that gets back into your pockets by doing this the right way. So just wanted to make sure I shared that.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that, Dr. Jane. Yeah, that's the whole goal is putting money back into the pockets of the DCs because, as you know, Jay, I mean, you deal with insurance companies, and I know that that you're working on a big project there on making sure that they're accountable. But ultimately, it seems like DCs are constantly having to fight for every dollar that they bring
Absolutely.
into their practice, and
Yep.
so this is out there now. Not all clarity here that not every chiropractor we talk to is going to qualify. It depends upon what you're doing inside your practice. But for those who do, we want to make sure that we get as much money for you that you're entitled to. And because, as I'll share you a little bit here, this conversation doesn't generally come up with their accountant. So just a quick history on R&D. Of course, it in 1981, it was created, as I said earlier, to reward innovation. And in particular, that revolved around manufacturing and software, which you know a lot about software too, Dr. J. So, and because it was limited in the early years, they wanted to incentivize to improve upon processes and products. And what really pushed that onto in the 80s was actually the Japanese. So when the Japanese started bringing in their vehicles into the United States, and more technology came from overseas, they felt like they were behind on the ability to incentivize businesses in the United States to improve upon these processes and protocols and the products that they're creating. So that's really what created that. And then what happened is Congress came into play here to make sure that they're not just rewarding manufacturing and technology, but under actually the Obama administration, when they came out with the Affordable Care Act, they actually had another provision that was passed, and that was in the R&D to allow practitioners, i.e. chiropractors, to be able to qualify. And that's on a federal level. And of course, we'll talk about some states here in a second. So now healthcare, chiropractic, integrated practices, professional services now qualify. Now, that's assuming that you're doing things inside your practice that qualify. Dr. J, I know that you're involved in a lot of R&D on the the Compass project. And a lot of DCs that I talk to think it has to be revolving around doing a formal paper, as an example, or some type of collegiate type of R&D. But the reality is it's not. It's what happens from Monday through Friday inside their practices that qualifies.
Yep. That's great.
All right. So why does this moment matter is because when the One Big Beautiful Bill changed the tax landscape, they created a limited time window. So what does that mean? So to kind of take back what I was talking about earlier, take you back to that and that was when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, there was a provision that expired. It required a DC to amortize their R&D expenses, which what that did, they had to do over a 5-year period. It created an unnecessary tax upon the DC in 2022 and 23 and 24 because they couldn't take all their expenses. And that was very taxing, very expensive for DCs to do. So ultimately, we just put things on hold and said, listen, just hold tight. Legislation was being brought in to be passed. And of course, it kept on getting killed by the child tax credit, which is a whole nother issue in politics in Washington, D.C., which you're so close to up there. But ultimately, what this new legislation that came out under the One Big Beautiful Bill, it allows us now to go back retroactive to 22, 23, and 24 and recover back what you did not get as a DC. Now, they did put a specific time frame. So now we're talking in November. Thanksgiving is coming up next week, and before you know it, we're going to be into 26. So that just means, in a nutshell, that you really only have about 5 to 6 months of next year to be able to get everything in, get your study done, and get your returns filed, because July 6th is the deadline. And so from our perspective, we look at that only about 10% of chiropractors around the country actually utilize, and businesses in general, not just chiropractors, but utilize the R&D who are eligible. And so that window, as I said earlier, is shutting very, very quickly. And so we want to make sure all the DCs are educated on this opportunity to go back retroactive.
So Don, if I act now, I reach out to you guys, I connect with you before July of 2026, I can get, potentially, if I qualify, I can get R&D tax credits all the way back from 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Yes.
And it sounds like the sooner I do it, the better. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. So, and part of that is, of course, is, as you can imagine, all this pent up R&D applications, because this is not just for the chiropractors. This is for the large manufacturers out there who have millions of dollars of R&D waiting for them. So everybody and their brother has been, in the last 90 days, has been going in there trying to get their amendments in, or making some changes in their tax filings to make sure that they get those benefits, because if you snooze, you lose. Now, particularly for those under $31 million in collections a year, this is where this applies. So there's some other provisions for the larger corporations, but still anybody under $31 million. So there's anywhere from dental clinics, dental labs, to, chiropractors, to doctors, to all kinds of ones out there that fall under that $31 million limit that can go back retroactively. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, so real quickly here, before One Big Beautiful Bill, as I said, amortization. Amortization was not a beneficial process. Now you can expense fully the amount. And then, of course, like I said, this temporary 3-year retroactive look back. So what will happen once July 6th comes next year is you can no longer go back and recover 22 through 24. That is gone. That's off the table. If it's not postmarked by before that date, and from the IRS perspective, then it's not a valid claim. So what happens afterwards is you still get to do R&D, but it's only going to be current year. So 25s will still be able to be done, 26s, and so on and so forth. But 22 through 24 will not be on the radar to be able to claim if you wait too late. And unfortunately, human beings are horrible procrastinators. So we put down here window closes on July 3rd just because of the holiday on July 4th and that weekend. But ultimately, we have to have everything in no later than the first part of June for us to be able to do the study, get everything in, get the study completed. whether that's by one of our doctors who are on our staff, like Dr. Matt, or one of our attorneys. So we have tax attorneys who do these studies as well, and CPAs. All right, so how do chiropractors qualify? Just real briefly, Dr. J, is it's qualified activities, and that could be anything from new care methods, developing or testing new care methods or protocols, not necessarily new to the industry, but new to your practice. So maybe you went to an event, you heard Dr. J speak, and maybe there were some other speakers there talking about a new protocol or process to help subluxations. That would be something maybe new to you, but necessarily new to your practice. So that would be something you brought in, and that could be a technology, or that could be a treatment protocol as well. Treatment plans, improving documentation or treatment plans in general can be a qualified activity. The key here, as I always tell my DCs, it's all about going back and doing a reevaluation. So you have a re-exam. So you do an exam, a pre-exam before you start treatment. And when you go back and do a re-exam later on to determine if they're improving, if that patient's situation is improving, and documenting it, that's huge when it comes to the IRS. I'll give you an example. I have a client who is more the traditional, where there's just adjusting, there's no modalities or such. And she's been getting an R&D credit for, I think, about 7 years now, is because it's not so much about having the technology as much as it was going back and doing the re-exams. So, all right, technology integration. Technology does play a part. This call I just had with this DC in Tennessee introduced Shockwave or Softwave. And so because he's done that and he's improved upon his process or protocol, he's now getting R&D for that. And so his last one is about $12,000 that he got for that. He's a smaller practice. And I meant to say this earlier, Dr. J, that our average is about $30,000 when we do a 3-year back study. We've seen as much as $300,000 for a larger practice, but generally somewhere between that 30 and probably $100,000 for a 3-year study is generally the case. And there's always exceptions to that. We just have a doctor in Texas. I was being told here a little bit ago for his study we just did for him, he came back with about $60,000. So
I mean, that's real money. That's big money.
you can take that to the bank, and I'm sure you could probably think of better things to do that with that money than give it to Uncle Sam.
Absolutely. Hey, can I ask a question, Don?
Sure.
So I want to know, can I go back to all of my Embody customers who have purchased my software and have been paying for Embody, month after month, right? Can I go to them and tell them they can qualify for these credits based on this new technology they've implemented in their practice?
So the answer is possibly, and you can certainly go back and let them know they need to look into it, because it's all about, I always tell people, when you have technology, it's great, but utilization, and does it improve the patient outcome? And so if that's quantified, and they're doing other activities where it makes sense, and I'll dig down deep on how all this is calculated in a second, but the answer is yes. But as far as making sure they're utilizing it, and then what else are they doing inside their practice? So
Love it.
So yeah, so system improvements, creating better systems for intake, reevaluation, outcomes like your technology. Absolutely, that would be definitely to take in consideration and look. If you're innovating to improve patient experience or efficiency, it counts. Now let me talk a little bit about how this is calculated. So the two moving pieces of qualification and how much you're going to be entitled to is, number one is time spent. So when Dr. Matt or any of our other team do the study with you, it's ultimately to determine how much time are you and or your staff spending. That could be an associate, that could be a CA, that could be a nurse practitioner, not a front desk person, but anybody who's actually working with the patients. The time that they're spent, that's going to be a big determining factor. And what we do is we look on an average week. And then secondly, is going to be their wages. So as an illustration, I'll just use this here. If you have qualified activities of, let's say, 2 or 3 personnel in your office, and let's say your payroll is $400,000, and we determine that, let's say, 30% of your time is qualified activity, so that'd be 30% of 400,000 is 120,000. You're going to get on the federal level about 8 cents on the dollar. So that's just shy of $10,000 that you'll get per year. So we go back 3 years, and of course, that's $30,000. So that's just an example of how everything's calculated. And even the time that you spend looking at, publications and learning new things as well, that time that you spent is a qualified activity. So there's a lot that we dig down deep into it, Dr. J, just to make
Yep.
sure we're squeezing that orange as much as possible to get as much juice out. So
Love it.
So misconception is, that DCs don't do R&D, and I would say that probably 80% of the DCs that we speak to actually do. And that doesn't have to be, like I said, something more formal. If you're improving processes, it qualifies. Or my CPA told me, would have told me if it was practical or if it was applicable. Most CPAs that I've worked in this industry for over 30 years, most CPAs generally are not familiar with R&D. I just had a call with someone in Minnesota earlier this week here that is a CPA not familiar with it all. And then secondly, what they do know about it is that what they believe is that the medical professions don't qualify. And that's the furthest thing from the truth as well. It's only for big companies. Like I said, our average claim is about $30,000 per client. It's risky. Oh, I love to address this one here. Matter of fact, I'm having to deal with an email from a CPA that came in this week to one of my team members. So the old theory about R&D is risky for audit. So, speaking prior to 2022, there was a higher risk, with all full transparency, that was a chance of happening. But the two things that have changed is January 20 of 22, they changed the rules that everything's pre-approved. So just like if you take insurance and you get a pre-approval, it's the same thing here, is that we take it, we submit it, or your CPA submits it to the IRS. They have 60 days to review it and either approve it or deny it. And we have sent in thousands and thousands of clients since that 22 change, and we've not had any of them not accepted because of the studies that were completed. So we're pretty thorough, very detailed. Everything's reviewed by our tax attorney, so to make sure that the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. So the odds, matter of fact, my tax attorney actually said that it reduced the chances of audit down by about 95 to 98%. So highly unlikely. And particularly when you're getting 30,000, if you were getting, 300,000, you're probably going to be more in the higher risk, even at that. But like I said, my tax attorneys that work with very, very large Fortune 500 companies, and generally when you get into the seven figures is where they really pay a lot of attention. So, and lastly, it's too much work. Well, we handle 95% of the process. We collect up the documents. We make sure that the study's completed. We provide all the documentation to your CPA or our internal team to file the amendment so you can get the money. And the good news is we're fastly approaching 2026, is when you go to file your taxes in 26 for 25, you can do it right side inside your tax return and get that benefit of that credit. So let's say it's $10,000. That's $10,000 less that you have to give to Uncle Sam for your 25 taxes. So,
and Don, once people go through this the first time, it's much easier in subsequent years, right? Because you have a lot of the information, the client, so it's easier to get it done moving forward. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a good point to bring up. So when we go to do a 3-year study, we actually had changed up our process. The first thing we're going to do is do your 24 study to make sure there's enough meat on the bone for you to go after, because if we go back even further, we've got to collect up more documentation. Sometimes, getting all that documentation, it's going to take you some time, or your staff members some time. But I always tell my clients that hour or 2 hours that you'll spend in working with us and getting all that documentation together is going to be the most profitable 2 hours that you're going to make. Because I know what DCs generally make, and I can tell you that most of them are not going to make that much. I mean, when you think about $10,000 for 1 year, and if we're able to get 30,000, let's say it takes 3 hours, that's $10,000 an hour. So I know
that's a pretty good return on work. That's for
Dr.
sure.
J, you might know some DCs out there that do that well, but we won't name anybody.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would take $10,000 for an hour of work any day, all day. Thank you very much, Don.
Exactly. So just kind of give you some examples. Small chiropractic clinic, improving patient intakes, $48,000 for the 3-year study. Mid-size, we've seen 126. Like I just told you, this client in Texas. He had 3 year study. One was like 60, the other one was 65, the other one was just approaching 70. So, I mean, he's certainly going to fall in that mid-sized practice. And then occasionally come across a software firm. And we actually had one down in Texas. Actually, I think I connected you with them, Dr. J. That was one
Yes.
using AI years ago.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so
Good
that was,
folks.
yeah, it was over a couple $100,000 that they received just for 1 year. So, yeah, pretty interesting.
It's
I
great.
mean, AI has come a long way since we first introduced them. So,
Yes, it's come a long way and it just
yeah.
continues to accelerate. It's crazy.
And I always tell my DCs when they get this, when we're talking about these dollars, what are you going to use it for? Is it something that's going to, reinvest back into your practice? You're going to hire somebody, you're going to expand, or you're going to put it in your savings or retirement or vacation or, whatever it is. This is your money because ultimately you overpaid on taxes, and our goal is to recover that so that you have more money in your pocket. So.
Love it.
Who else qualifies? I'll briefly go through these real quickly. Again, you can see software, SaaS, development, manufacturing, engineering, construction, architecture, any business who improves how they deliver value. Now, again, there's got to be some other pieces to that. As an example, I had an attorney down in Southern California say, "Hey, I'm doing R&D. I'm doing research and development on how to do better on my cases." Well, no, that doesn't work. That's not the IRS is not going to incentivize you on for you to make more money suing people. So, anyways, 5-step process. Number one, intake call. First thing you have to do is get on one of my team members. They're going to gather up some information just verbally over the phone, just making sure kind of a pre-qualification, make sure there's going to be really enough activities and payroll to go down through this process. Documentation, we collect up everything that's needed. We start off with W-2s, so we're not asking for tax returns initially. That'll be down the road, but ultimately W-2s, because that again is a payroll conversation that we mentioned earlier. We do the study. Like I said, Dr. Matt or one of our other team members would do the study. We give you the report of findings, and then of course the application and support. So what happens is, again, whether your CPA files it or one of our accounting team files it, then what we have is a full-time department that monitors the process of the refund. So that's really, and we reach out to the IRS. Actually, that's all they do all day long, which is probably the worst job in the whole office, is talking to the IRS every day. I'll be honest with you. Our average return on our clients is 300%. So you put in $1 and you're getting $3 back. Again, even Bitcoin, especially lately, couldn't do that well, 300% in a short period of time. People always ask me, Dr. J, how long does it take to get it back? Well, during COVID, it was a black hole at the IRS.
Yeah.
Now, particularly with e-filing, it's gotten much, much better. We generally see as soon as 3 months, but generally between 3 and 12 months. But again, 300% return on your investment. If I invested $1 in the market and got $3 back, or $100,000 and got 300,000 back in 12 months, that's a pretty substantial ROI as well. So
Absolutely.
FAQ, do I replace your CPA? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, our mantra is, Quartermaster Tax Management powered by your CPA. Our goal is just to bring these credits into your pocketbook, and we work alongside CPAs all the time. Like I said, a call earlier with one. How long does it take? Like I said, the process to gather up the documentation is generally takes the longest. And if we're able to go back 3 years, we're probably looking at 30 days for everything to be brought in and then do the study. So we're probably looking about 45 days at the soonest for us to get the results back for you from the study. Talked about the audit risk. We've already addressed that, already filed before. So even if you filed your 24 just a month ago, back on October 15th, that's fine. Or maybe you've amended before, that's fine, because the IRS under the One Big Beautiful Bill is allowing a re-amendment to previous amendments if necessary. So generally you wouldn't want to do that, but because ultimately this bill has created this opportunity, it's less frowned upon.
And I just want to address really quick about the replacing the CPA. Some folks out there might be concerned, like, oh, I don't want to ask my CPA about this. They might get offended, or this, that, and the other, affect our working relationship. You guys were fantastic. You worked with my CPA. He was totally open to these ideas, knew about the R&D tax credits, but didn't really take advantage of them for me. And then after talking to your team, your legal team, the other members of your staff, like it just became a really strong working relationship where, really everybody benefits, especially the client.
Absolutely. And the big thing for your CPA, just to be very frank with you, because I've been doing this a long time, is that there's the things that they don't want. There's three things. Number one, they don't want to be thrown under the bus. Without absolutely none of us would ever do that because they're very busy. They do best what they do best, which is keeping you compliant. And
Yep.
that's the reason why I sold my CPA firm 8 years ago, because there's so many great CPAs out there. They didn't need us to do the compliance part of it. So number two is they uh, uh, don't want to have to deal with an audit. Well, I just explained about, the first of all, the pre-approval is eliminated audits by about 95 to 98%, but we also guarantee that if it's ever challenged, we'll defend it at no cost to our client.
That's amazing.
Yep. And then number three is that they don't want us to take their compliance or their tax preparation business from them. And we have absolutely no interest in doing so.
Yeah.
Like I said, I sold my practice 8 years ago because there's enough great CPAs out there to do that.
Yeah. You guys are busy enough just focusing on one thing and doing it really, really well.
Yeah, that's our goal, absolutely. So I always like to say this here. The one thing about what we do is R&D, particularly going forward, is really a tax planning tool. And we have a full tax planning department, again, working alongside our clients and their CPAs. But the reality is there's some other things that can be done to mitigate taxes in a forward looking. There's only one other tool that we have that can go back 3 years. So the bigger picture is R&D is just one piece of the broader tax planning strategy. We actually have, if you paid over $100,000 in for state and federal taxes in any given year, the last 3 years, we can actually knock off 25% guaranteed off the tax return, off your tax liability. And even if you've already paid it, we can get that refunded back to you. It's just a nice thing. It kind of enhances the R&D. It's not R&D, but it's actually a provision of the tax code that came out of the CARES Act back in 2020 that we're able to still continue to use here now, even in 2025. So that's something I always like to mention out there. If you paid over 100 grand, there's an opportunity to even save some more taxes besides R&D. And then of course, integrated strategy, our goal is to create substantial savings and profit. So, for growth for yourself. So again, the best way, your greatest expense generally for most DCs is going to be your tax liability. So if we can mitigate that, reduce that, that's more money in your pocket, which is a win-win. Like I always said, Dr. J, chiropractors and what we do at Quartermaster are the same thing. It's called pain management. It's just a different type of pain management. So,
Love it.
all right. So again, retroactive window closes soon. I highly encourage you to reach out as soon as possible to get in the queue because again, there's going to be a window of where we can't take any more on because of the time frame of getting everything done. Of course, we've saved millions, tens of millions of dollars for clients over the years. We're 5-star rated on Google. And of course, booking your 30-minute discovery call is all it takes. Like the quote here is, innovation deserves to be rewarded. Let's make sure you get paid for yours. So all I have to do is scan this QR code. And there's no cost for you to get on the call with my team members. There's no cost for us to do the study. Once we find the money that you're entitled to, then we'll let you know what that looks like to engage us. But ultimately, we're here to find money for you. There's money falling through the cracks every day in a lot of ways, but our number one goal is to get this money back from the IRS. So,
Don, it's amazing. Love the work that you guys do. Greatly appreciate the help that you provided to me. Talk to me. How long does that call take when they're planning this initial call with you?
yeah, so let me kind of walk through. So first of all, it's about a 30-minute call with one of our team members. That's first of all. Then what happens is one of our onboarding team would gather up the documentation. So again, they'll send you a list of things that we need, which is predominantly W-2s and just some basic information. And then from there, you get on about an hour-long call with one of Dr. Matt or one of our other team members to do the study. And then once that's done, you'll get back on the call with one of our team that would go over the numbers with you and let you know what that looks like, and then what the steps are to go ahead and claim it. And like I said, we work alongside your CPA. I have a great tax planning team and a tax manager here who can jump on, and or myself or any one of our other tax professionals here who can get on here and walk the CPA through if they need to. We can give them filing instructions. So our goal is not a territory issue. Our goal is to put money in your pocket. So
That's great. And if you've got multiple practices out there, Same tax ID number, and also maybe each one is a different tax ID number. How do those things play into the R&D tax credits?
Yeah, that's a good point. So the IRS has a thing called, well, first of all, if you have the same EIN number, tax ID number for all your practices, that's the simplest. That's one that we just gather up all the documentation that I referred to earlier and go ahead and do it. There's a thing called a control group. So let's say, for example, I have a DC, matter of fact, I have one right now, who has his chiropractic practice. And then he's also got a medical practice, and then he's got another entity that he owns about 20% in. Anytime you have more than 20% ownership in any other entities that are not, again, that are not chiropractic, then it's called a control group. So that one there takes a little bit more documentation, and then we have to get our tax attorney involved in those currently to be able to make sure. So just a little extra work on your part. But if you have that large of a practice, like I have one who has about, well, actually, I can tell you for a fact, we talked the other day, he's got about 48 locations around the country. And so, unfortunately, in his case, he's got multiple EIN numbers. So it is
Yep.
a little bit more work because we have to do those all, I don't say individually, but we have to do them individually, then bring them all together. And matter of fact, my onboarding team said he's got 200 employees that we have to put in there, which is the time consuming part. So.
Yeah. But again, worth it, because if he's doing the R&D work, he's going to get paid. He's going to get his
Yeah,
money back. Yeah,
absolutely. Well worth the investment of time for sure.
absolutely. So what parting thoughts do you have for our audience today, for those chiropractors that are like, this sounds really good, but maybe it's too good to be true. I'm not really sure if I want to do this. Like, what would you share with them, Don?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dr. J. So I would say this here, that there's no risk to at least find out, to have a conversation with one of our team members. And if there's enough to start that process for R&D, then they'll get you into the queue and start gathering up documentations. And you know what, when we find how much you're entitled to, then it gets really exciting to be able to get that filed and get that money back as quickly as possible. As far as the other part of the 25%, that's just a phone call with one of our team members. What they'll do is, if you said, listen, I paid $100,000 or $300,000 or whatever it was back in 22, then they'll get you to the appropriate person on our team that handles that and get that figured out so we can get you that money back as quickly as possible. So it's just a conversation, and then go from there. So
Yeah, do me a favor, throw up that QR code one more time, Don.
absolutely.
Guys, it's a no-brainer. All right. Worked with Don, known Don for many, many years. He has just done a tremendous job for our profession. And like you said, like just take the chance, get on that first 30-minute call, check it out, ask all the questions you need to ask, get comfortable, and then get your R&D tax credits that you deserve. All right.
Thanks,
Well,
Dr. J.
let me tell you, another awesome 40 minutes with you, my friend. Always good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you sometime in the new year at one of the many events that we go to together. And I just want to thank you for the time that you spent with me today, all you do for our profession. And yeah, have a great holiday season, brother. And I'll talk to you soon.
Dr. J, thank you very much. You too, sir. Have safe travels.